All right. So we are now joined by Chris. And so, Chris, if you could just tell us your name, what you do, and where you live to kick us off.
I am Chris Gerald. I'm a regional manager for NSA Storage Holdings presently for the last 36 hours. And I live in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and been job searching for 22 months, doing all the right
22
things,
months.
updating LinkedIn pages, networking, going to networking meetings, and nothing was bringing me solid results. I was getting interviews, but I wasn't getting the job offers.
Yeah.
And
Well, 22 months. I mean, that's a long time. And, I know how difficult that can be, especially just on your mental health and, surely the financial piece too. And so you touched on this a little bit. My next question was going to be kind of where you were in the job search. So 22 months job searching, looks like you were making it to some different rounds of interviews, but no offers. Do I have that right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And again, it's easy to do all the right things and spend 12 hours a day, sometimes 14, just with the follow-ups, trying to reach people and reaching people. But I guess late in the year, there's probably a shortage of jobs. I realize that's flipped around. One thing that I didn't mention, we might want to put this in later, is I am still getting calls from recruiters. Yesterday, I got 6 calls
Oh my
from
God, Chris, that's
with
awesome.
positions available from several of those side door conversations with recruiters.
Nice,
One of
Chris.
them's in the DFW Metroplex. The difference is now I'm not going to say, oh no, I have a position. I'm saying, just keep me on your queue. What's the position? I'm digging into it just to see if it's better. And I hate to do that to someone, but this is life.
Yes,
But
100%.
yeah, it's crazy. I had an email, 2 emails this morning about positions. They're not really up my purview, but I feel like the side door method got me into recruiters' computers or systems or whatever that is.
Mhm.
And now I'm popping up on people's displays. It's crazy. My wife doesn't even believe it. So
Oh, that's just music to my ears. I'm so stoked for you. That's incredible. All right. So, talk to me. Like, what was important to you? Obviously, you reached out for some help, but what was important to you as you were evaluating, coaching help with your job search in a program to get you to where you wanted to be?
well, that's easy, AJ. It was all about sincerity. There are thousands of people out there selling procedures and processes and methods and mindsets and coaching. Your process was I saw you on Facebook, I saw you on Instagram, and I started thinking, well, okay, it's another one, but I'm going to give it a try because you were a little more down to earth when you were talking
Mhm.
about the process. You didn't just say, I guarantee this. You were talking about, are you struggling? Are you having a hard time? And I was like, yes. But it was the sincerity of Aaron that I talked to at the first, and then when you and I spoke, and my wife surprised me when she said when we were talking to Aaron, she said, "Well, can you get AJ to give us an evaluation of really where Chris is with LinkedIn and searches and things like that?" It blew my mind that you did it that night. I was like, "Holy cow, we need to invest in this guy because somebody that's that dedicated, that's who I want to work with."
Oh,
And
that's
I
amazing.
never felt that from the many other sessions I had with folks talking about their processes. It was all um, about 4 minutes of descriptions and then about 30 seconds of pricing and how they could work with me. And they all did the same thing. They all started at about $9,000
Yeah.
and they wound up trying to get it to me for about 5,000 on some kind of special. And I was
Yeah.
just like, why would you cut your whole system in half? It just doesn't
Yeah.
work. And I mean, you were on target with the pricing. Aaron was, and we
Mhm.
talked through it. And I said, well, got to talk to my wife, but it
Mhm.
just made sense. It's like I
Yeah.
have to do something, and I had that sincere feeling from you guys. So
That's amazing. That's also music to my ears. So thank you. I love to hear that. And so when you joined Career Amp, what was maybe one of the first wins that you experienced, or and like an aha moment where you're like, oh, I see it now. This is valuable.
once I got set up, I believe it was about 24 hours, and I got the first email that gave me the links and the logins, one of those auto emails that you send. And it was easy to access. The milestones were laid out on the left side of the screen. Each one of them started with your explanation of what the process is and a little bit of a summary about what you're going to get out of it.
Mhm.
And it made me want to keep watching because it's like, well, okay, the basic things we're doing. And
Mhm.
obviously, I started very quickly, got to the resume and the offer letter and working with Barbara with that.
Mhm.
She was extremely helpful. She changed things twice because we had some changes that we discussed, updated my LinkedIn page about 3 weeks later. But it was always explanation and benefit. Here's where you're going to enrich yourself, developing your resume. And it wasn't just okay, we're on the resume section, here's what you do. But
Mhm.
that personal little message in the beginning just really incentivized me to go, okay, well, that sounds good. Does it sound like the droll, I have to roll out my 4-page resume and redo it again?
Yeah.
It was more of a, okay, there's something to be had here. And that
Mm-hmm.
was really each one of the milestones. The one with the side door method and the one with the scripts, that was really the biggest piece. And that was what I was working up to.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I had, my dad passed away and everything, so it kind of slowed the process down halfway through. But getting back into that and really trying that side door process, I'll be honest, the first time I went to LinkedIn and I started setting it up, I'm like, this feels a little weird. But it just clicked. I mean, as soon as I sent the first message, I'm like, yeah, nobody else is doing that. So that's really what got me excited.
Awesome, awesome. And huge kudos to you, right? We always have to break through that barrier, that like brain barrier of, oh my gosh, this is so foreign to me. How do I do it? And just kind of like putting the fear to the aside and like feeling it, but like doing it anyway. And you're a great testament to that because you felt the fear, you did it anyway, and look where it landed you. Right. So you're newly employed after 22 months. And if I did the calculations right, like minus the week that you're off for your family and holidays, I think it was about 10-ish weeks that you were in the program before you landed an offer. Do I have that about right?
That's pretty close. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
close. And I mean, we've
Yeah.
been working on this since November 29th. I'm sorry, December 29th. So yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
negotiations are and interviews are what they are, but yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. It's such a great transformation. You should be so proud of yourself for just circling the wagons and making it to where you've landed today. So I'm so proud of you
Thank you.
and happy for you. So my last question for you here is if someone's watching this or you were talking to somebody who was on the fence about joining Career Amp, what would you tell them and why?
I would speak to the sincerity piece that you genuinely feel like you're being helped. You're not being given a process and then having someone on a Zoom call explain it to you. Our first call was very deep, down deep. I think we went about 5 minutes later because we needed to. You didn't stop the call and say, I have to go. You've answered me with emails within a few hours every single time. I put in a couple of tickets with oddball questions. You guys have answered me within, gosh, in some cases in an hour. Um, it's been such a resource to be able to count on because I haven't had that from anywhere else. It's always they'll get back to me if they want to. There's some value in it.
Yeah.
That plus, I've actually made some connections off of the folks or with the folks on Career Amp,
Cool.
so that we're talking. I've got a fellow in California that I made friends with, Gordon. I'm helping him with a job search. I sent him some contacts out here to help with his.
Nice.
And then there's a lady, I believe, up north in Chicago. We talked back and forth for a few things. Both people are kind of in the similar roles, so we were kind of exchanging stories. They're both earlier in the process, so I was telling them, listen, don't get hung up on the middle. Keep going. Get to the side door. And I'm like, well, does it really work? I'm like, yes. It's if you can find a niche, a place where you're comfortable, absolutely use that. And I told them about my contacts,
Mhm.
people I had worked with.
Mhm.
But I said, other than that, yeah, it absolutely works. I mean, I wasn't getting the recruiter calls that I'm getting now, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it definitely gets a response. So
Yeah. That's
that's what it
great.
is.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you part of the community. I hope that we stay in touch and congratulations again, Chris.
Thank you so much for your help, AJ. I really can't thank you enough.